Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to talk about cameras. So this video is going to be aimed more at people who are just starting, people who are maybe looking for their very first camera. They have an interest in photography, but they're not really sure what to buy to maybe take it to the next level, you know, from just maybe a cell phone or a little point and shoot. So that's what this video is going to be about. So if you are beyond that, if you are beyond buying your first camera, or maybe you're still not sure, maybe you bought one and you aren't sure about it, this could help you too, but that's who this is for. Okay, so there are a few things that I think that you should look for and kind of make a little checklist of when you are searching for your first camera. The very first one is if the lenses are interchangeable. So you don't want to end up buying a camera like I did, with just is a decent point and shoot with a really far zoom. That's not going to get you very far. You do want to make sure that you get a camera that has interchangeable lenses. You can change them out, you can pick new lenses, you can upgrade just lenses and not just your camera body. It's very important, and the reason for this is because different lenses shoot different things, and you might end up not liking the lens that you have, and you can always upgrade without having to pay for a whole new camera. So keep the camera, exchange out the lenses, and it ends up saving you money in the long run. You also want to make sure that your camera is manual capable. What this means, there will be a little M in the dial. This means that you can change all the settings yourself. So you can play around with aperture, shutter speed, ISO, you can change all of the settings yourself. You can choose. So I did a video a few months back of the difference in shooting in auto and manual. I will link that here. And you'll see in that video that letting your camera decide how to take a picture is not always the ideal photo. You don't get the ideal results that way than if you select all the settings yourself. So again, that comes with learning your camera. Once you learn photography and you kind of get into the groove of learning it, you will have to learn how to shoot in manual. So if you make sure your camera can do that, you are already off on a good start. The last thing that I want on your checklist for cameras is to make sure that it shoots in RAW. You need to make sure that whatever camera you purchase shoots in RAW. Most cameras do now. I think even my GoPros shoot in RAW, so it's not too much. You're not asking too much from a camera, because like I said, most of them do shoot. A lot of them will advertise that they shoot 4K, whatever. You need to make sure that your camera shoots RAW still images. It just, for the editing, it gives you the biggest file possible to edit, big large prints, everything that you would want in a photo that you're going to put on your computer and edit, you will get from a RAW photo. Okay, so now that we have the checklist out of the way, let's talk about camera bodies. So there's a few different things to look for. There's DSLRs, and there are mirrorless cameras. So that's its own decision to make right there. DSLRs are the cameras that everybody's had forever. Big, clunky, chunky, get the job done, workhorses. I've had most of everything I've had has been a DSLR, except the Sony that I'm filming on is a mirrorless. However, a lot of people like the lighter weight mirrorless variety, and it's definitely personal preference. Go into the store, pick up cameras, feel them, kind of decide what you like. I personally still really like a DSLR. I like the heaviness of it, and like I said, I called it a workhorse. Like, I like that. I don't like the little tiny dainty feeling cameras. Like, I just can't get past it. Maybe I used DSLRs for too long, but that is something to think about. It's something to research. Again, like I said, I have DSLRs, that's what I shoot on, and then I do video on mirrorless, but I still don't really know a whole lot about everything, and so it's important to do your own research on that. I just wanted to point out that there are two different kinds of cameras that you can get. So with that being said, both DSLR and mirrorless cameras have two different formats. There are full frame cameras and there are crop sensor cameras. This is a little bit harder to explain, at least to me. Like, I'm not the most knowledgeable person in like Like, I know what it means, but it's really, to me, it's hard to explain. So the best way that I can explain it is, so let's say you're taking a photograph with a 35mm lens. A 35mm lens on a full frame camera is going to be a 35mm lens. A 35mm on a cropped sensor, so I will put up a visual of what I mean. It's almost zoomed in a little bit. So I want to say like most are like 0.5, 1.5, 1.7 ratio. I will look it up. Again, I'm not a technical person. I'm very more on the artistic side of photography. So I'm going to explain it the best I can. But the 35mm lens on a full frame is 35mm. You get the full frame of the 35mm lens. If you take that 35mm camera and you put it on a crop sensor camera, it's going to be zoomed in. It's going to be cropped in a little more, and you're going to get less in the frame, almost like you're putting around a 50mm lens on your camera. So that's something to think about if you want the full effect. I also think full frame cameras are a little bit higher quality. Most professionals shoot with full frame cameras. I remember getting my first full frame camera after having a crop sensor and being like, whoa, what is this we have here? So it's definitely, I see a difference. I think the quality is better. I think the low light capability is better. But it's something, again, to research. There's plenty of people that use crop sensors forever and never have any desire to upgrade to a full frame. So again, it's your research. It's going to be preference. I do think you get more professional quality out of a full frame camera, but that is my opinion. Okay, so let's talk about lenses. So now you've decided, like, all right, cool, I want a full frame DSLR. Cool, like if that's what you've decided, awesome. Let's talk about lenses. And first I want to mention like kits. So you're going to run into a lot of these kits that people put together. So like Best Buy will have a Canon camera with 2 lenses and a tripod and a camera bag and like this big giant kit of stuff that is $800, and you're like, what's up? Like, that's a great deal. Yes, that's a great deal. If that's how you want to learn, if you've done your other research and you think that's the best deal, great. I am here to tell you that those kits and those bundles are not the best deal. Sure, money-wise, yes. However, my second camera that I ever got, the first camera my husband bought me, because he actually saw that I was taking a, liking to photography and I was really enjoying taking pictures of our daughter. He bought me one of the bundles. Like, great, I get a camera and a lens and a memory card and whatever else in there. It was a T3i bundle. So the first thing that I didn't like was the lens that this camera came with. In those bundles, which now I know, at the time I didn't know, in those bundles, you are not getting good lenses. You are not getting good, high quality professional lenses. So in my opinion, I think it's better to go and do your research and find the camera body that you like, and then do some more research and find the lens that you think you're going to use. So the things that you should look for in a lens, first you need to decide what you want to photograph, because different lenses work for different things. So I shoot families, and even when I shot a lot of boudoir, I like a wide angle lens. I like getting up close and personal with somebody. I like stepping back and getting more in the background if I want to. I like a wide angle lens, like, I say wide, but like 35. I don't think, so 35 used to be a wide angle lens, but I really don't think it is now. But for a long time I used a 50mm lens also. So there are 2 different kinds of lenses to look at. There are zoom lenses and there are prime lenses. And let me tell you the difference. So a zoom lens allows you to zoom. It's pretty simple. So like this one, for example, is a 15 to 30mm lens. So if you notice, you can even see the little thing moving. Watch. See? So it goes from 15, and this is obviously like a super wide zoom lens, but It's the only zoom lens I own, actually, because I don't really like zoom lenses. This one's beautiful. It's by Tamron, 2.8, whatevs. Beautiful lens. So there's those. There's zoom lenses where you can get, and I mean, you can go hard on the zoom lens. You can go like 70 to 200. You can go like 24 to 70 is a good length that people like. So you can zoom around. The other kinds of lens is a prime lens, and this is the opposite of zoom lens. It has no zoom. It's like this one, for example, is a Tamron 24 millimeter. You can turn this all day long and it does not move at all. Your feet are your zoom. So if you want to get in closer, you have to move closer. If you want to get farther back, you have to move farther back. So I tend to like these prime lenses because they are much, much sharper in my opinion. Like I said, I like my zoom lens. I actually use this mostly when I would shoot weddings for receptions, so I could get like all the crazy people dancing all in one shot. But for normal, everyday, all the time sessions, I like a zoom. A few reasons. I think they're sharper, and I like having a lower aperture. Like the lens that I use 99% of the time is a 35 millimeter 1.4 lens. And again, in your photography research, you will see that you will learn all about apertures and what have you. But I like a low aperture. Even if I don't necessarily use it all the time at the low aperture, I like a low aperture, a really fast lens. Most people want a pretty creamy, out of focus background, and yes, you can get that in other ways. Aperture is not the end all be all in a creamy background on a photo, but I like to achieve it by having a lower f-stop. So I just like prime lenses. I don't know. I've had zoom lenses. My first camera came with the little 18-55 millimeter. Going back to the kits, that's actually the first thing I upgraded. Within a month of owning my little T3i bundle kit thing, I bought a prime lens because I just wasn't getting the result that I wanted from the little 55 millimeter zoom lens. But yeah, so for zoom lenses, I like a small aperture, and you can't really get that. I think 2.0, maybe 2.8 is about the lowest you can get in an aperture when you're talking about zoom lenses. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure you can find some crazy zoom lenses with some crazy low apertures, but they're also going to be like crazy expensive. So that is not my jam. Okay, so on to my recommendations. And again, this is going to be my opinion. I know everybody has their own gear that they love, but even when I've mentored people, these are the recommendations that I give them. So if you have decided that a crop sensor is fine for you, I would recommend I love the Rebel series. The Canon Rebel series is awesome. Again, they always come in these crazy kits with a bunch of stuff you don't need, but you can get them just the bodies. You can order them on Amazon. I think a lot of the camera shops like Autorama and B&H have just the camera bodies. You don't have to buy them in a kit. So the one of the newer Canon Rebels, the T8i, you can scoop it for around $750, and that's just the body with no lens. And then Canon makes this awesome little lens that everybody calls, it's the Nifty 50. This is a 50 millimeter 1.8 lens, and it's a great lens. I used it for a lot of years before I upgraded. It was one of the first lenses that I upgraded from my kit. You can get them for about $120 on Amazon. You can buy them used, even cheaper. It's honestly so cheap, and kind of, again, it's not cheaply made like it used to be, but it's not the best quality of a lens, durability wise. So I probably wouldn't buy that lens used. I would just fork out the $120 and buy it new. So that puts that kit, a T8i and a 50 millimeter 1.8 lens, at about $870. So under $1,000, you are started and ready to rock. And my recommendation, if you wanted to go full frame, the best entry level full frame camera in my opinion is the Canon 60 Mark II. I currently shoot on the original 60, but they don't make that one anymore. So if you can find that one like used or refurbished, awesome, because that's a great camera, but they do make a Mark II now, so they make a newer version of it, and that camera without a lens, again just the body only, is about $1,300. So you are going up a little more. Full frame cameras do cost a little more, so it's about $1,300 with no lens, but you can use that 50 millimeter 1.8 lens on that also, so then it would only be $120 for your lens. So for about $1,400-ish, you are looking at a pretty decent setup. Like, that would be the setup that I would go for personally. But yeah, those are my recommendations. Like I said, I shoot video on a Sony a7 III with a 50 millimeter 1.8 lens. I also have a 24 millimeter 2.8 lens for video. I don't shoot photography on my mirrorless camera, so if that's the route you've decided to go, I know people love the Sony a7 III. I think you can pick up a body for about $1,700 now, and I really like the 50 millimeter 1.8 lens on that, and I want to say that lens is about $300. It's about $299 for the Sony one. So that's what I've also come to realize, having been a Canon owner for a really long time and then branching out to the Sony. Sony is expensive. Yes, it's awesome. People love it for, again, people love it for photography, but I still haven't found my love for it for photos. I have noticed that it's so expensive, like compared to, like, you could get, like I said, you could get the 6D2 with the 50 millimeter lens for like $1,400. The camera body of the Sony a7 III cost more than that. So, and then you still have to buy, and then the lens, the 50 millimeter 1.8 lens is about $300. So it's like almost like 2.5 times the price of the Canon one. I love Canon. I will always be a Canon shooter, I believe. I don't think I will ever revert completely to Sony. Again, super opinionated. I'm sorry if that's why not why you came here, but this is just my opinion. I know Nikon is an option also. I've never owned any kind of Nikon like professional photography gear. I had a point and shoot. Doesn't really say much. I went from the point and shoot to Canon, so I don't have anything to say about that. So I am a Canon girl, so those are my Canon recommendations, and again, a little bit of mirrorless recommendations. That's all I have to talk about. This is going to be a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, I think, but I wanted to make sure to cover things, and I hope that you got maybe an idea of what to start looking for. Even if I didn't give you what to look for, if I gave you some ideas of things to look for and research while you're looking for a camera, I hope so. That is all I have for today. I will see you next time. Bye!